Most people picture Greenland as a giant, empty sheet of ice at the top of the world. But beneath that white surface is a stranger, older, and far more human story than any map suggests. This is an island where mountains are crushed below sea level by the weight of ice, where Viking farms once grew barley in green fjords, and where modern towns have no roads connecting them to their neighbors. An island of buried landscapes, vanished colonies, and hot springs that steam beside drifting icebergs. In this video, we're going to peel back the ice and explore the hidden side of Greenland. The world beneath the ice sheet, the people who survived on its edges for 4,500 years, and the places where history and geology collide. On a globe, Greenland looks impossibly vast, a huge white slab dominating the Arctic. About 80% of the island is covered by a single ice sheet, in places more than 3 kilometers thick. It's the second largest body of ice on Earth, beaten only by Antarctica. But here's what most people don't know. Much of that frozen interior is technically a desert. It's bitterly cold, but it's also incredibly dry, with very little snow or rain falling each year over the high interior plateau. Under your feet is ice, but in terms of climate, you're standing in an Arctic desert. Beneath that desert lies a hidden world. The ice sheet is so heavy that it has physically pushed the rock beneath it down, depressing a huge basin into the crust of the Earth. Radar surveys reveal sunken valleys, long mountain chains, and bedrock that in many places lies below sea level, entirely buried beneath the ice. At the very bottom, some of the ice is ancient. Layers formed hundreds of thousands of years, preserving a frozen archive of past climates and environments inside its crystalline structure. Greenland is not just a block of ice, it's a drowned landscape, locked under one of the planet's most powerful geological forces. Despite this brutal interior, humans have lived on Greenland's coasts for more than 4,500 years. The earliest known inhabitants were Paleo-Inuit cultures who migrated from North America, adapting to a life built on hunting in an environment of rock, ice, and sea. Over time, different Inuit-related cultures arrived in waves, each bringing new technologies and traditions suited to the Arctic. Centuries later, in the late 900s, something unexpected happened. The Vikings arrived. Led by Eric the Red, Norse settlers sailed west from Iceland, looking for new land and a new start. They found it in the mild southern fjords of Greenland, during a relatively warm period in the North Atlantic climate. Here, the climate was just gentle enough for them to graze cattle and sheep, harvest hay, and even cultivate small fields of barley. The contrast was surreal. European farms perched on the edges of glaciers, where green hills faced fjords full of icebergs. There's a popular story that Eric the Red named the land Greenland, purely as medieval marketing, to lure more settlers to a harsh, frozen place. There's probably some truth in that. A pleasant name helps attract colonists after all. But the name wasn't entirely a lie. In the south, during the medieval warm period, parts of Greenland really were green enough to support hundreds of Norse farms. Archaeologists have catalogued the remains of farmsteads, churches, and even a cathedral, all built in a landscape that for a few centuries looked surprisingly pastoral. Still, the environment always had the last word. As climates cooled again and sea ice increased, the Norse colonies faded and eventually disappeared by the 1400s. Their stone ruins remain scattered across the fjords, standing beside the Inuit communities that endured in the same landscape. Modern Greenland. Greenland is home to around 57,000 people, but almost all of them live on the margins, thin strips of coastline wedged between mountains and sea. The vast icy interior has no permanent towns at all. The capital, Nuuk, has only about 17,000 inhabitants, making it one of the smallest capital cities in the world. Its houses, painted in bright reds, blues and yellows, cling to dark rock above a steel-grey harbour. But what really surprises visitors is this: there are no roads connecting Nuuk to other towns. In fact, there are no road or rail links between any of Greenland's major settlements. Each town is effectively its own island, even when it sits on the same coastline. To travel between them, people use boats, helicopters, and planes. In winter, snowmobiles and dog sleds still play a role in some regions. As a result, owning a boat in Greenland can be more useful than owning a car. Greenland is home to 3 major UNESCO World Heritage Areas, each revealing a different layer of its story. The most famous is the Ilulissat Icefjord, where one of the world's most active glaciers constantly carves icebergs into a narrow fjord. Here, you can watch massive chunks of ice collapse into the sea, feeding the same iceberg production line that once sent ice all the way into North Atlantic shipping lanes. Further south is Uunartoq, a cultural landscape of Norse ruins and modern Greenlandic sheep farms, recognized for showing continuous agricultural use from the Viking Age to today. Ilulissat Icefjord, on the other hand, protects ancient Inuit hunting grounds and migration routes that stretch across the inland ice and out to the coast. Together, these sites show how different cultures learn to read the same harsh environment, leaving overlapping footprints on the land. Despite its icy reputation, Greenland holds a few surprises. One of the strangest is the hot spring area of Uunartoq in the south. Here, geothermal pools steam in the open air beside a cold fjord, and you can watch silent icebergs float past while you soak in warm water. It feels like a glitch in the Arctic, a place that looks like it belongs in a fantasy novel. Southern Greenland is also the only part of the island that truly looks green to most visitors. In summer, hillsides around towns like Nuuk and Uunartoq can turn lush, supporting sheep farms and small fields of potatoes and other hardy vegetables. There are even experimental groves of tough trees, tiny forests clinging to the margins of a treeless world. Because natural forests are almost non-existent, Greenlanders historically relied heavily on driftwood, carried from distant rivers, and on imported timber to build houses and boats. Even wood becomes a rare and precious resource in this environment, a reminder of just how much has to be imported or ingeniously scavenged. Greenlandic food still reflects the realities of life at the edge of the Arctic. Traditional diets are built around what the land and sea provide. Seals, whales taken under strict regulations, seabirds, reindeer, musk ox, and an abundance of fish. Many dishes are designed to preserve fat and calories, essential for surviving long winters when the sun barely rises. Even today, hunting and fishing are not just cultural symbols. They are practical sources of food and identity. In a place where you cannot rely on fields and forests, the relationship between people, animals, and sea ice becomes central to daily life. When you look beyond the white shape on the map, Greenland becomes something very different from a blank, frozen wasteland. It is a sunken landscape buried under ice, a coastline threaded with isolated towns, and a meeting place of Inuit hunters, Viking farmers, and modern Arctic communities. On the very edge between rock and ice, people have carved out a life for thousands of years, and that might be the most remarkable fact about Greenland of all.